The Lexus LC500 is already one of the most special cars on the road. It's basically a rolling work of art, a concept car for the street. Well, now Lexus has chopped the roof off to create this, the 2021 LC500 Convertible. I adored this car from the very first time I ever saw it as a concept, and I hoped that Lexus would finally put it into production. Now they have, and I'm going to show you what the 2021 LC500 Convertible is all about. So let's start off with a brief walk around of the LC500 Convertible, where up front looks pretty much like the coupe. That's a good thing. It's a very gorgeous looking car. This car has so many interesting and cool angles. Of course, we have the cool triangular headlights here. We've got the huge spindle grille, which some people dislike. I think this is definitely Lexus's best interpretation of the spindle grille. By far, it rocks this car the best. Now, you get 20-inch wheels as standard, but we've got the optional 21s with the chrome. I never like chrome wheels, but for whatever reason, these ones are an exception for me. They look gorgeous. Now we have these integrated door handles here. Now it's flush with the body. If you want to open it, you just push this and it'll kind of eject out. And if you want to lock the car, you just kind of push that and it'll retract in. That's pretty cool as well. Now back here, this is where everything is going to look the most different on the convertible versus the coupe. We still have this chrome finish here on the taillight. We have the cool infinite loop taillights that look fantastic. Now this is the only area of the car that I would say is not flawless in design. You see, when you go from a coupe to a convertible, you're going to lose a little bit of this roof line. The roof line on the coupe just comes back a little further. I think it looks a little more natural. This stops a little bit short for me, but I'm still happy that they went with a soft top. I think that a hard top would have just looked awkward. I mean, remember that IS convertible? Ugh, that thing looked terrible. The SC convertible, that looked terrible. So I think the soft top was the right way to go. You can get black, you can get tan as well, and there is a solution if you don't like the way this top looks. Just drive with it down. All right, so now that we've checked out the wonderful exterior of the LC500, let's hop into the cabin where those concept car looks definitely carry over here. We have some outstanding design elements in here that you would probably only see on a concept car. This doesn't look like any other Lexus cabin. We have these beautiful door cards here with these streaks that go down. We have the optional red leather interior. You can get black or caramel as well. Now the doors here have this interesting like checkered flag pattern. You have this amazingly gorgeous door lever. Even the door lever is gorgeous on this car, and it looks like it's kind of floating in midair. We have sort of black accents as well. It's like a very two-tone in here. Black steering wheel, black dash, things like that. The red interior is gorgeous. I may not be a big fan of the white on the outside, but I am a big fan of the red in here. Although if I was ordering this car, I'd probably go for infrared with the caramel interior. Caramel interior is still my favorite. Now this is the highest Lexus model that you can get. It sits at the top of their range. So we have adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, all of those things that you'd want from a luxury vehicle, and they work pretty darn well. Now, a lot of the elements in here are different on the LC than they are on a bunch of other cars. We have this amazingly beautiful climate control, a simple thing like that. These metal buttons here, they're unlabeled, so they just look absolutely gorgeous. We have cool air vents. We have a nice analog clock there as well. My shifter here, that's a little bit interesting. It's kind of like a Prius gear shifter, actually. You put it over and up, and that's gonna get you into reverse. We have a backup camera, but not a very high resolution one. And I think on a car that sits this low, especially in the front, I wish Lexus offered a 360-degree camera. They do not. You put it down for drive and then pull back again. That'll go ahead and put you in manual mode. Push P to put it in park. That's pretty easy the way that operates. We have these gorgeous metallic paddle shifters. That's gonna control our 10-speed automatic transmission. We have a very interesting gauge cluster here. Now, they do this on a couple of other cars. The IS has this, the RC has this, but it's inspired by the LFA supercar from a few years ago. Now, over here, this stock controls the traction control. Push it to turn it off, put it down to activate snow mode. I don't know if you're ever gonna use that. Over here, you have your drive modes, normal and custom. You can sort between those by pushing this button. Down sorts you between comfort and eco mode. Eco mode really does make a big difference. Now, Lexus, rates rates the fuel economy of this car pretty low, but when I was driving it on the highway carefully, which is very tough to do because of how good this engine sounds, I got almost 30 mpg, so this car can be efficient. Now, if I put it into sport, look at that, the gauge changes into like white, making the tach a little bit more prevalent, and then if I push it again, Sport Plus, now I have a very big, very bold white and red tachometer that looks amazing, and when you blip the throttle, it's going to leave the needle like kind of where you shift it. It does some really cool things, and the other really cool things it does is now I can have just a tach there in the middle, or if I want, I can cycle through my information, so now you can see fuel economy, range, tire pressure, all of those things. I can have them in the middle screen there, or if I want them to be a bit bigger, I push this button and boom, James Bond style, it slides over. Love that. The LFA did that, and I love the Lexus sliding gauge. It's just such a cool feature. Your friends will be like, whoa, did it just do that? Yep, it did. And now you can have all of that information here big on the side, just a little bit more readable. That is really cool from Lexus. Now, the one thing that isn't quite cool is the Lexus Enform infotainment suite. I'm still not a fan of this. You have your touchpad here with menu, map, and a back button. You also have some buttons for radio and media. Thankfully, you still have a volume knob that's easy to control. It is a beautiful metal volume knob with a big power button in the middle. Just turning it, this is probably one of the best volume knobs you're ever going to play with. It makes such a nice feel. But when I try to go through this infotainment system, it's distracting. I'm going to show you just how difficult it is to activate the heated and cooled seats. So I have to push menu, I have to go over to climate, I have to go up to seat heating, see I missed it, seat and steering. Now I have to come up here, and now I can control my ventilated seat settings up, down. I can put my heated seat on instead. I can put my heated steering wheel, and I can control the passenger ones as well. That's too many buttons just to get to the heated seats. I really wish I would have just had a button for that. New to the convertible, we also have heated headrests. We've got these little fans in the back here. Only heat, you can't do ventilation. I live in Florida. I really wish they would have put air conditioning into the neck scarf, and I would have probably used it a little bit better. Now, Lexus is really proud of that, but to be honest, Mercedes has been doing this for years, so not that special. And I do want to make a call out to the Mark Levinson audio system. It's optional on this car. I can't believe that on a car with a $100,000, $101,000 starting price that you don't get the Mark Levinson system as standard, but whatever, it's optional. And it has a CD player. It's a CD drive right there. And you might be wondering, why the heck do they put a CD player in it? Nobody uses CDs anymore. Well, I asked Lexus that very same question, and what they told me was, well, if you want the best sound quality, a CD is still going to give it to you. It sounds better than an MP3. It sounds much better than radio or satellite radio. So to make the system sound as good as possible, they put a CD player in it. It's the same reason why this car has a naturally aspirated V8 and not some turbocharged hybrid mess, because it just sounds better. It may be antiquated, but sometimes the old ways are still the best. And now the other thing that I finally want to mention, although this interior is gorgeous, it is not the most practical interior. We have one dedicated cup holder on the entire interior here above the infotainment controls. It's one cup holder right here. It works fine as a cup holder, but that's it. If your passenger has a cup, they're out of luck. The only other like area where you could potentially put a cup is if I slide this armrest back, I have this area here. That's not technically a cup holder. It's square, so your bottle is going to roll around here. And I do have some decent storage here in the center console, but again, nothing great for a bottle. We do have big storage bins down here in the doors, but not a whole lot of storage space. And I know this is a minor complaint on a GT car. So when you buy the convertible version of the LC500, you're going to be curious about the top operation, right? Well, we've got a 3-layer top, so it is very quiet and well insulated in here. That's good. But what's a little confusing is how to actually put that roof down. Now, when I first stepped in this car, I had no idea where Lexus put the controls. I actually had to call another friend of mine who's a journalist who had driven this car already to tell me they've hidden it secret style, and I really enjoy that. It's hidden right here. You just flip up this door and bam, there are your controls. I think that is such a cool way to do it. It makes me feel like James Bond every time I operate this. I'm driving along, I'm chasing a bad guy, and I want to fire the torpedoes at them. So I'll flip this up and now I can use my missile launcher underneath here. It just feels like James Bond would hide like a gadget. Q would put some gadget under here. So I think that's just a really trick way that Lexus has done this. Now I do have to hold the switch down all the way as the top goes down. It gives me a little progress bar here in the center display to let me know when the top is done. It takes 15 seconds to go down, about 16 seconds to go up. And then once it is down, I have a little button here that controls all 4 windows, and I can go ahead and pull this and it'll just close all 4 windows automatically. And you can do this at speeds of up to 31 miles an hour, which we'll see when we get this car out on the road. Now, there are some ways where the LC500 convertible is not perfect, and when it comes to the back seat and the trunk area, that's definitely it. So you go ahead and pull this lever, it'll push the seat all the way up, making it pretty easy to get in and out of, especially with the top down. But when I go ahead and sit back here, if the roof were up, I would not have a lot of headroom. And then when I go ahead and push this seat back, ow, 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 it's already cutting off my knees, ow, ow, ow. See, I do not have a lot of room back here. I would not want to sit back here for any period of time. I think it is best to just put up the wind deflector, which really helps cut down on the wind noise in here, and just pretend this car doesn't even have a back seat. And just like the back seat, the trunk is very tiny. Now you can squeeze a set of golf clubs in here, but it's not exactly easy to do so. Now I've asked Lexus, even back when the coupe was still available, why they don't just cut off the back seats, you know, make the trunk huge. And they said, you know, people still want to have the back seats. They wouldn't confirm that it makes the insurance rates lower. That's the rumor that I've always heard. They wouldn't confirm that. But yeah, I kind of wish that they would have just went one or the other, a 2-seater with a big trunk or a smaller trunk with a back seat. But the good thing about this trunk is that with the top up or down, you get the same amount of space. Oh boy, I have been looking forward to driving the LC convertible for over a year now. Now, this is not a 0 to 60 type car. It's not the fastest car in the world. It does 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. So I'm just gonna roll on the throttle to give you a bit of sound here. Let's put it in manual mode here. Oh my God! I was waiting to talk so you could just hear how good this engine sounds. Oh my gosh. Oh! All right, so that is a 5-liter V8 engine producing 417 horsepower, which is a fair amount, and 398 pound-feet of torque, and this engine revs out to 7,100 RPM. And it's not necessarily about that RPM redline, it's where this engine meets its peak horsepower. It doesn't meet peak power until 7,100 RPM. So you have to rev it out like that to make it feel fast. You have to let it go all the way and then shift it all the way at the top. That's where this engine is the most comfortable. It is completely like most other engines you'll drive today because those are all turbocharged. This car has no turbos, no superchargers, nothing. Just V8s, 8 cylinders making that amazing noise, mated to this amazing quick shifting 10-speed automatic. You can hear it downshift. It blips the throttle. This is an amazing gearbox. I don't care what anybody else has to say about it. You know, oh, it could have been a manual. Nope, this car would not have been better with a manual. This 10-speed is perfectly mated to this 5-liter V8. I absolutely love it. And the reason why this car sounds so good, I mean, first of all, you have no roof now. The coupe already sounded great, but now with no roof, you just have better access to that amazing exhaust. And Lexus is very proud of the fact that the LC500 does not have any fake exhaust coming through the speakers. They do not do that, and they put an exclamation mark in their press release to let people know that. Instead, there is a sound pipe that leads from the engine bay into the cabin, giving you a little bit better noise. Because of course, I'm willing to admit these cars are so quiet and comfortable and refined now that it's hard to transmit the engine noise to the driver, but they've done it with a physical pipe similar to what they did on the LFA supercar. You see, they did learn a lot of lessons from that car. You also have a computer controlled valve back there in the exhaust, and that manages the back pressure. So you get like different exhaust noises. So like, go ahead and listen to this. I'm gonna go like half throttle, second gear. Like, it sounds really good, like amazing. It makes a great noise, right? But if I go full throttle, it sounds a little growlier. Let's do that again. It almost sounds like it has VTEC. Like it just makes a grrr at the low RPM and then it makes a rasp at the high RPM. I just love it. That's that valve in the exhaust doing its job, just delivering you this soulful, amazing experience. Now, like I said, it's not the fastest car in the world. 0 to 60 in 4.6. It's limited to a top speed of 168, just like the coupe. But it's not about that. The steering is so natural feeling. It's not one of these variable ratio things where you feel it heavy, you know, in Sport Plus mode. I am in Sport Plus mode, and the steering still feels light. If you've ever driven a Ferrari, you might think that a Ferrari would have this heavy steering, like, you know how like a Mustang, when you put it in sport mode, it gets all heavy. Well, if you've ever driven a Ferrari, those steering boxes are really light. You don't have to have weight to have feel, and the LC500 manages that beautifully. The steering is absolutely phenomenal. The ride comfort as well is fantastic. Now, they have made some chassis changes to the LC500 convertible. You know, you want to keep the structural rigidity, so there are a few moments if you take a big impact in this car. We had one crashy moment on the way to our film site today, but for the most part, this car rides really well. Remember, this is a two-door GT. It's not a big, comfy luxury sedan or an SUV. It's not the most comfortable car in the world, but for what it is, it rides beautifully. And this car does have flaws. Like, you know, I mentioned the back seats are small, the trunk is small. This engine, like, it sounds amazing, but, you know, a BMW M car or an AMG car will walk it with the turbocharged engines and all-wheel drive and all that stuff, and their dual clutch gearboxes and all of that good stuff makes you go really fast. But it doesn't matter. It's just like dating a supermodel. Like, yes, she's gonna have flaws. Like, yes, she's gonna take a lot of time to get ready in the morning, but it's worth it. You would do it anyway. I'd put up with any excuses with this car because it's just that good, that soulful to drive. I don't care that it's not the fastest car in the world. It's fast enough. And when you are willing to drive it fast, listen to what you're rewarded with. Oh my God, and you get to listen to that all the time. This is the type of car that when you see you're about to go under a tunnel, you have to prepare for it. You have to go into Sport Plus, you have to put it in manual mode, you have to drop it down a couple of gears just because you know you're gonna get rewarded with that experience. And the thing that I love about it is it's a great cruiser as well. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in normal mode. I'm gonna go ahead and drop below 31 miles an hour. We can put our roof up. It takes about 15 seconds to open, about 16 seconds to close. It's 3-layer, so it's thick. So this doesn't really sound any louder to me than the LC500 Coupe. And it becomes a quiet, comfortable GT. I have this button here, roll up my windows. And now it's silent in here, super quiet. And the engine, it has 10 gears to go through, so it's gonna go ahead and, you know, default to the top gear. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in drive. And now it sounds like an LS500. I can't even hear the engine. I'll accelerate a little bit. You get a little bit of grrr, but like, it's buttery, it's smooth, it's vibration free. It's a Lexus, once again. It's amazing that Lexus has somehow built a car that is so savage and so soulful. It almost feels like an Aston Martin. In some ways, this might be the best Aston Martin on sale in 2020, and that is big praise. But it's still a Lexus, it's still comfortable. You don't have to worry about big, expensive maintenance items. I don't care that this car has flaws. The flaws make it perfect. This was a time capsule moment for Lexus. I don't think we're gonna get too many cars like this ever again. Naturally aspirated, beautiful to drive, not that many computers. If you have 112 grand and you don't spend it on this, I kind of think you're making a mistake. This is a once in a generation type car, and I think you really need to look at it seriously. It's so good. So that was the 2021 LC500 convertible. Pricing starts at $101,000. This one, as tested with few options, is about $112,000. Now I know that is a lot of money to spend on a car, but to me, this is more than just a car. It's an experience. It's a time capsule moment. Now Lexus didn't build this car with numbers in mind. They didn't build it for a customer. They built the car that they wanted to build, and that's what makes the LC500 so great. Naturally aspirated V8 engine, no fake exhaust sound, just a valve that goes through into the cabin. Other automakers need to learn from this. They made the steering feel natural. They made it comfortable instead of overtly stiff because they know nobody's gonna track it. This is a pretty much flawless car, and it does have some flaws, but I'm willing to make all the excuses in the world for this car because I want to drive it more than I want my next breath. Now it is $8,000 more than the coupe version of the LC500, and you might prefer the way the coupe looks, but I think the added drama of having the drop top, being able to hear that exhaust while you're driving, is worth every penny of the $8,000 premium. And if I were in the market for a six-figure luxury car, this would be probably on the top of my shopping list. I love it so much. We really hope you've enjoyed this video of the 2021 LC500 convertible. For more videos like it, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. We still have so much of our video views coming from non-describers, so please help us fix that. And be sure to check the link in the description below to be taken to CarBuzz.com, where you can learn all about the LC500 convertible and any other vehicles you're shopping for. I'll see you next time.